Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, and Dennis Prager on the line with us. Dennis, a conservative commentator, nationally syndicated talk show host. You can hear his show pretty much anywhere in the country. Tune around and look for it. The author of several books, including Still the Best Hope, Why the World Needs American Values to Triumph. His website, DennisPrager, Prager.com. And Dennis, let's see here. Robert has a call.
Wait, before we take Robert, certainly. I got a question for you. Let us say we paid as much taxes as you would like. We followed the Thom Hartmann system.
We roll back the Reagan tax cuts.
Okay?
Yeah.
So whatever it would be, whatever it would entail.
That's it, in a nutshell. Roll back the Reagan tax cuts.
What do you think that would do to the out-of-wedlock birth rate?
I think it would reduce it.
By how much?
Well, let's see. When LBJ cut poverty in half with the Great Society, the illegitimate birth rate went down substantially and measurably over the next decade and a half. So I would have to go back and look at the numbers, but I would think you would see something that would be corresponding with that.
Now, tell me why you believe that the tax rate and the illegitimacy rate are related, because I don't see it. Because
taxation is one of the principal devices that reduces or exacerbates inequality. And when you look at the studies that correlate inequality with illegitimate births or out of wedlock births, let's call it that. As you correctly said, I don't like the word illegitimate. But hang on, let me finish this sentence, Dennis. If you look at that correlation, and you can find this in Wilkinson and Pickett's book, The Spirit Level, or their previous book, Why Inequality Matters. This is good, solid science on this, Dennis. I encourage you to look it up. Have I answered your question?
Good, solid science on the idea that if Thom Hartmann pays more in taxes because he's doing well, then a woman who would have slept with a man and gotten pregnant before will not get pregnant now until she marries him. You expect me to believe there is science to back that up?
Yes.
I think that is the drivel that when I went to Columbia University Graduate School and learned men and women were basically the same and were told the science backs up that nonsense. I think what you just said is nonsense, and it is backed up by nonsense in the guise of science. I learned so much of that at Columbia that is what turned me into a conservative. I was being falsified about life. I was told nonsense in the name of science.
Well, here's a simple question, Dennis.
Heterosexual age didn't discriminate. That a middle-class heterosexual woman in America was as likely to get AIDS as a gay man. We have been lied to in the name of science all of my life, and you're going to expect me to believe that a woman is going to change her values because Thom Hartmann pays more taxes?
Well, let me ask a really simple question. Why is it that from the 1930s to the 1980s, top CEOs made typically 30 times what their employees made, and now, depending on the industry, it runs from 300 to 5,000 times what their employees make? What accounted for that difference, that increase in inequality?
What does that have to do with our subject about why people produce children without being married?
Because the thing that produced that sudden gap, because the thing that produced that sudden explosion of inequality was the Reagan tax cuts.
Yes, and all right, so good. Okay, look.
I can tell you, Dennis, from personal experience, let me just tell you a story, if I may. Back in the 70s, in 1973, 74, 75, somewhere in there, I was running a company in Michigan, and I was making more money than my father had ever made, and I was in my 20s, right? And my CPA came to me and he said, if you take the paycheck that you're on the path to take, you're going to be hitting the 50% tax bracket. And that's not a good idea. You should put that money back in the business. And I did. And we went from 12 people to 18 people in that business. And we developed a new line of products. We expanded the company. And I paid my employees well because, it's crazy to pay 50% income tax. And that's why CEOs didn't make more than 30 times what their employees did, because the top tax rate was 91%.
Okay. All I can say is, just say once again, just for the sake of clarity, and it's okay, and I deeply appreciate your having me on the show since we don't agree, and I try to do the same on my own show, and I think it's a good thing. I believe that if we adopted a 91% tax rate
After $3 million a year in income.
I'm sorry?
After $3 million a year in income in today's dollars. That's how it historically was.
Whatever Thom Hartmann wants, if it were adopted, it would have a negligible effect on the values of people. People, it is one of the most sad things to me, the reduction of the human being into this material person whose values are so created by their material state. It's so dehumanizing. My grandparents were unbelievably poor. They would never think of committing a crime. They would never have considered having a child before they got married because they were religious Jews who had a value system that was utterly independent of their financial state.
Dennis, my grandfather was a Norwegian immigrant who came from Lutheran stock, but was actually agnostic, but had the same values. He never in his wildest dreams would have considered,
and that's great. And he would have laughed at his grandson's idea that how much money people make determine whether you have a child.
No, he was actually a socialist.
That's irrelevant. He still would have laughed at the grandson's idea.
No, what I'm saying is that inequality affects society, that when inequality increases, what you see is an increase in STDs, an increase in out-of-wedlock births, an increase in mental illness, an increase in the crime rate. As inequality increases, you see a decrease in social trust, a decrease in social cohesion. You see an increase in divorce rates.
Right. Okay,
this is clearly documentable.
That's what you believe in. You believe that it's that.
I believe in the science. It's right there.
I don't believe they're causative. I believe that people's behavior affects their morality and their values more than their economic state affects their morality. That's
okay.
It.
I'll leave you with the last word.
That's where we differ.
It is, and you said it very, very well. Dennis, I genuinely appreciate you coming on the program and sharing your worldview.
Thank you so much.
Dennis Prager, you can check him out at Dennis, Dennis Prager, Prager.com, and his most recent book, Still the Best Hope, Why the World Needs American Values to Triumph. We'll be right back.